Hello, everyone. Blue Star Saber here once again to do another One Piece chapter review. Let's see, I'm calling a bit close with this one as the next chapter is technically going to be out. Early in the morning, or at least in the afternoon. I can't recall exactly when on Sunday, but nevertheless, the chapter will be officially out. So try as well do this one before the next one comes out. So yeah. Anyway, this chapter is basically a follow-up where we get the conclusion of Loki's flashback, where Loki decides to take where everyone just realizes just how dangerous Howard is, and it's probably a good thing that Loki was able to stop him. And Loki decides to take the blame for his father's death, as he decides that he cannot really take over as king because he cannot live up to his father's ideals. Instead, he will avenge him, and we see that Hadrudin, learns all this truth after being confirmed by Gaban. The other giants, finally sort of forgive Loki, at least for this. Still a bit of grudges, everything else. So, let's see, the new giant warrior pirates, Zoro and Sanji Chopper and Scupper Gaban head up to the surface while Loki is doing a bit of a warm-up against one of the dream monsters, with Luffy wanting to watch and see what Loki's power is all about. So, but yeah. So, once that has been sort of let's see, Loki decides to give Luffy a taste of his power with using his hammer. He's able to freeze the giant monster, much to Luffy's surprise and amazement. So yeah, that was basically the chapter. And now we're about to find out how, let's see if the monster trio, as well as, minus Luffy, as well the new giant warrior pirates, are about to face the enemies and how that battle will take place. Now, before we begin, we've got a One Piece. We got a One Piece cover, which was done by a reader's request. Swans helping themselves to Bon Clay's makeup. Where we see one swan with straw hat and another one with a crown, and a few others mimicking Bon Clay's headwear. Where Bon Clay is just sort of using some sort of makeup brush on himself. He seems to be happy that the swans are doing this and all that stuff. It's a nice little chapter, and for those who like Bon Clay, it's a nice treat. As you're curious to see, we know he survived the cover. We know he survived the events of Imperial Down, which makes us wonder he's going to play a role at some point with those who are in Imperial Down when it comes to the final war. But that could be given the fact that the whole world's about to sink, so that will definitely affect the prisons. So we'll have to wait and see how this takes place. But for the time being, it's just a fun cover story of one of a beloved One Piece character. So anyway, moving on to the story, we see that the elevator's going up. Scupper Gaban's explain that they're three enemies, and their mission is to try and kidnap at least 10 of their children, and apparently to take them and use them as hostages. So the warriors can be turned into the warriors of Elbaf will be turned into battle slaves, if you will. As Gerd is holding him and Chopper as he's explaining this. Well, I think Hadrudin going how can a mere trio of these humans run rampant over both the giant pirates and Mr. Ya? With Scupper Gaban saying, "I'm sorry, I failed you plain and simple, though granted you could have possibly brought up the fact that, they had your son hostage." And no, I'm not sure if you could bring up the angry wives bit, but monsters, but yeah. Anyway, Sanji is confused by how can these three kidnap these children because they're basically giants, given the fact that it's going to be hard to carry out the kids. With then Scupper Gaban explaining that among the trio of enemies, there's a woman who has this strange arrow power, and wherever the arrow seems to move, the kids can't help themselves but follow it, and he's telling them they're being led to a port in the Western Village, where if they get on board, they'll go onto the sea, and they will not be able to save them. And basically, the world government has their hostages, basically. And then you got world saying, but if that's all, then why can they not simply take back the children? With Gaban explained that one of them, of course, is a man named Summers, who he knows him, which arguably, given what we've learned with how the Roger Pirates had to deal with the Guards Knights frequently, that makes a lot of sense. So yeah, and not to mention the previous bout we just seen in Elbaf. As he talks about how a man with He's a man with the power of the thorn fruit. As a thorn man, he can make free use of those spiky vines and put them around the children and made them invisible. And let's see, so that means that with God realizing that means we can't really pick them up, thinking that it's such a cruel, sadistic thing. And with Gaban saying that it's also structured that if they try to, let's see, interfere with the line of children, they'll bump into each other. So basically, case up one, and you end up hurting the others. And as he describes it, harm one another like hedgehogs. And then finally, he explains that the final member of the trio is most likely manifesting nightmares as real creatures, and he's using the children's greatest fears to come and prevent them from, preventing anyone from saving them, if you will. So, yeah, children's nightmares being used as like sort of bodyguards. With Gaban saying that the irony is the children are simply walking in a line in broad daylight, but they're unable to do anything to help them. Let's see. Due to this game they've created and these three powers they've worked together, with Hadrudin saying that we will save them. With someone talking about how it seems quicker to aim for the three causing problems. With I believe this one is new giant. New giant pirate. Pirates. That's the New Giant Warriors. I always forget this guy's name, I guess, but Goldberg. With Goldberg sort of suggesting with Goldberg suggesting that since they're mortal, but they're harsh to be, there has to be a way to stop them. Thinking some very creative suggestions like trapping them in something or crushing them, or even perhaps a bit savage in a sense, eating them. With someone laughing and agreeing with that one, but I'm curious. At least I assume it was the eating one, but who knows? But yeah. Anyway, they talk about they're nearly up at the Sun World, and as the giants are preparing for battle, let's see, Hadrudin is shocked to see what lays before his eyes, in which he ends up getting a glimpse of some of the monsters that as a giant warrior pilot start to see some of the monsters that are crossing apart, such as like the giant dragon, a flaming warrior knight. They see the original giant warrior pilot ship burning, if you will. Let's see. Hadrudin gets a close look at a close-up shot of Hadrudin and the sort of dragon's face, and I think he calls it, is that the Great Eric? And with them saying it's beyond anything they have imagined, and there's no limit to these nightmare monsters. And one of them looking at over the Great Eric, as we see like the flaming giant warrior, a bird monster, Dark Nika, some sort of monstrous giant. The Great Ericas, of course. Let's see, a flying lion, which I'm trying to remember what the name of that species. I'm thinking it was a Sphinx, maybe. Oh, and the wolf monster. But yeah. With Gaban, let's see. Dorian Broggy's crew was on board, but the monsters drowned the ship as they fought back, which this crew shocks the giants, thinking that's something that's unthinkable. With Kashi, who's injured, going to calling out Hadrudin's name, with Ritzy realizing he's alive, and he's wondering we've been to the underworld, tell us what happened. As he tells him it's hard to believe, but he's going to try and explain that their captains, Dorian Broggy, are going to try and kill Chief Yao. And he says that we have to stop them. Everyone's gone completely mad as we see Dorian Broggy with the dummy reverse giants causing havoc, with other giants retreating from their path. As Gerd asks, what about the children? And He's explained that Ripley and a bunch of other giants have gone after chasing them, but they haven't any word or success or not about their success or failures. So, for all we know, the children have reached the port by now. And he tells Rodo something, which he's a bit confused. And we learn that one of the children, Borgen, I think the one that was a bit cowardly, is apparently his brother, as he's shocked that he's there, and he's going to go, and he rushes to go save his brother, with Gerd and Goldberg coming with him to try and help him. With Sanji asking Kashi which way to the school, if you will, and he says he apparently was told that Nami's group is near there. So Kashi says, "You see that fire?" Saying that's the school and the library burning. And he's confused why Sanji confused why it's on fire. With Zoro going like, "You say Dory and Broggy have gone mad," and he goes like, "That's correct." And we get a bit of a map with Kashi saying that please you must hurry. Oh no, I need to refresh the page. I've gone a bit messy. With him going like, please, you must hurry, as Chief Giles' life's in danger. We get a map of where the school library is burning. Let's see where Seoul is, and of course where the Straw Hats are by default. The current location of our current party of Gaban, Monster Trio, and the New Giant Pirates, where Chief Warrior Sol is, where the King's Castle is, where the dummy reverse giants are, where the children are being hostage, all that kind of stuff. Where the group is going. Let's see, you still see the library burning with a few of the giants watching on, and some of the children are sleeping. Let's see the library where the strike crew is. With I believe Robin talked about the library burning. With Jinbei coming out commenting that Chopper's not back yet, and Brock has got some kind of idea in his head and ran off. Nami is complaining that they're taking the children and they need to get these owls off them. With Usopp's going like, "Damn it, I never wanted to see Master and Dory and Broggy like that." We see that on Dory and Broggy, dummy reverse, saying kill Zhao. With some of the giant warrior pirates that not dummy reverse trying to ask their captain to come back to sense. Let's see, as the narration says, where they're heading to the western village. I should mention that this is a map of like Branch Route 8. And you see the rescue team where, let's see, Ripley is leading a party, but also among them is Omi, as he's saying that, as they're trying to say, "We're coming for you kids, get those monsters out of our way." We see the hostage children, where one of the kids says, "Are we going to be at the port soon then?" With I believe, let's see, I'm trying to remember Scott Gaban's kid. Let's see, Giants, One Piece, Giants. Let's see, half giant, probably in the half giant. Oops. Half giant. Oh yeah, Colin. Let's have forgotten that, but yeah, I'm just looking at some of the other kids. So, but yeah. Anyway, let's see the other kid giants. Let's see, just take a look at their names, but I'm not going to really say them out because that would take too long. So, he's telling them that don't whine, you're warriors of Elbaf, but they comment that we're not warriors of Elbaf. And then the Western Village, where some of the giants around the village are saying it's time to flee. Chief Giant saying there's no reasoning with the Dory and Broggy right now. With saying no, you should flee if you wish. He says he'll stay here. He sees something to say to the citizens of Elbaf. He picks up the Den mission. He says, "Hear me, Elbaf. I wish to tell you everything before I die." With them going like, "Is that Chief Zhao?" As he goes like, "Old King, let's see, wish to bring Elbaf into the world government, and that they might coexist with the rest of the world." As the Gunko that's possessed by Emu is listening in. Emu possessed Gunko. Yeah, that's much better. But he said, but on that fateful day, he's honestly not, thinking of not saying anything, Emu, but yeah. But on that fateful day 14 years ago, as Giles says, he was betrayed and denied his wish. This seems to confuse some of the giants, as they call out his name. And he talks about how he witnessed a demon slaughter Harold and the rest of his soldiers, saying that Harold resisted bending the knee and handing Elbaf to this demon, as we see one of the dummy reverse giants attacking some of the other giants. Talking about how Harold fought and died, with shocking some of the giants as they thought that Loki killed the king. As you see a bunch of other giants fighting the dream monsters, with Harold saying, but if the people learn the truth, they would rise up in vengeance and becoming a warring nation that Harold did not desire. So he held his silence, if you will. And Loki, decided to bore the rage of the nation upon his back and took to the seas. And you see more shocked giants about this reaction, and one of them looks like to be Hadruden's mentor, from what I understand. If you remember the Big Mom flashback, with Jar going on, he may be a tactless man, but Loki is innocent, which shocks more of the giants. We're sort of calling it a bit inaccurate, but it's a nice turn of phrase with Hadruden saying nicer than he deserves, and then we cut to this next panel, if you will, of Emu and the Guards Knights. Let's see, with saying that with Giles saying that today it seems that government, these demons had given up initially. They seem to acquire their strength once again, and thus 3 demons have come back to sort of come back and attempt to take over the country. As we see each of the Garden Knights in 3 separate locations, it might look like they're sort of like in the same, sitting side by side, but no, you see Killingham running across his army of monsters, Emu across with his dummy reverse giants flying in the sky, and Summer's just sitting, relaxing, thinking yawn, I could take a nap and still complete the mission at this point. Seemingly think that his task is done. With Jarlan saying, "Listen up, you devils! If you spare the children's lives, we will freely give our culture and history." And then we get a quick image of one of the one of the giant teachers. Hold on, let me just remember which one it is. Oh yeah. This teacher, I believe, is Angie, and the kid Ronji, who was used as one of the hostages to fall if they didn't start burning the library. But says, but if you think you've broken our spirit, you are sorely mistaken. Saying, do not expect Howard's patience from us. As some of the wounded giants are listening in, some of them from the new giant warrior pirates, as I recognize them. As Emu's listening in, not talking anything, as Jal talks about, if you think you can rule over us and enslave us, who do you think you're talking to? As he tells the kids that let's see, if I ask, you must cover your ears now. As you see the kidnapped hostages, with Usopp crying out, "That's right, Jal, you tell him. The Elbaf I dreamed of doesn't bow to anyone." As the narration goes, as Jal says, if the world is destined to be split in 2, as the Harley prophecy suggests, as he declares, then Elbaf shall be an enemy to the world government, as he's basically declaring war and saying, did you think you can think that thorns and reverses and illusions would cause us to accept to your yoke? With Zoro commenting how he likes the old man, with Hadrun saying 3 centuries ago he was the strongest man on sea, talking about how we will never give to your rule. Am I wrong, all proud to the proud warriors of Elbaf, with them saying, damn right, Chief Joe! They're getting excited. And Usopp, he is fanboying with heart eyes, saying, the Elbaf I love is back, with Nami kicking him, saying, fine, just think of a way to undo these arrows. As we then see that Jarl and the other giant saying, "Protect the peace that Howard envisioned," as the giants start charging towards let's see, the dummy reverse. Dory and Broggy is about to have their battle, with a Druiden talking about how they've caught up, and I believe the other one saying, "Watch out, don't get trapped between them." The one that the Straw Hat saved back in Shabodi. Whereas Soros saying he's got a plan, ending the chapter on that note. And with that said, I can now give my thoughts on the matter. So of the chapter, here we go. Okay, I do like how Scopo Gaban is basically updating like the group of new giant pirates as well as Zoro and Sanji of who their enemies are. Granted, let's see, I know some of the spoilers implied that my understanding the spoilers implied that and this was more of a recap kind of thing, but which arguably in a sense is for those. I mean, it's been 20 chapters since at least since you've seen these Gods Knights in action and doing what they're doing, but since we had that long flashback. But I do think it's a good way of like having giving an idea of Cesar and Sanji and the new giant pirates, who their enemies are, what their abilities are, such as Gunko with the hour ability to control and all that stuff. Getting them an understanding of how free human immortals, despite their size, are able to sort of take hostage of 10 children, because I like how Sanji points that out. It's like it would be a bit hard to carry, and he's basically saying one has the hour powers to move them about, one has form powers to stop people from touching and helping them, and also damage themselves if we try to intervene, and one has created monsters out of the children's nightmares to sort of like take on the take on anyone that tries to rescue the children. So arguably sort of like talking about how this is like the perfect combination of able to take hostage of 10 giant children and take them aboard a ship that will take them away, and as a result they will be used as hostages to force the giants into slaves. I do like how you've got the reactions from like a bird about how this is like cruel and sadistic, or like a Jun saying how we will we will save them and all that stuff. So I do like how all that has been basically explained to everyone. So and this deadly game. Let's see. Goldberg's comments about if they're mortal, how we gotta think of ways to beat them, which arguably trapping them in something or crushing them arguably sounds reasonable, but the whole eating them, that is dark, I will admit. Let's see. Not helping the stereotype of giants being savage, but but I do. Let's see. But I kind of find it funny that someone actually agreed with that, or at least I assume that they're agreeing with the camel of the eating stuff. But yeah, but I do like how let's see, they are all kind of shocked by just how chaotic all the monsters are. So I do like the panel spread, especially when they comment about the jet of the Great Irk. But yeah, but seeing like these monsters just ravaging across Elbaf, which I do shows you just how chaotic they are, and also given the fact that you're sort of reminded of just how big all these imaginary monsters are with the giants, even though last chapter we saw just how big they are compared to even Loki and ancient giants. So yeah, we do have that. And I do like how they're even shocked like that how on earth let's see, these Gods Knights were able to defeat Mr. Yar and Doggy and Broggy and the new giant and the old giant pirates, especially like seeing the flaming ship. Though I do like how Aban's trying to say I have no excuse, though. You could have pointed out that they took his son hostage and let's see, would have killed him in front of him if he didn't back down. But I guess that's more or less I guess that'd probably take too much time to explain, but even though that would give them a more clear understanding of how these guys operate. That they wouldn't hesitate to kill the children if if they got too near and all that stuff, especially if they're related. But I'm going to get into that a bit more. But we end up, I do like how we learn that Kashi and Omi have, let's see, Kashi at least, Omi and Kashi have not been Domied reversed, as Kashi has been wounded, but he is nevertheless still around, and he's the one that warns them that Dory and Broggy have, let's see, gone mad, and they're trying to kill Chief Zhao, which arguably is probably something that's shocking for everyone, but yeah. But I do assume that let's see, they'll probably figure out that being possessed at some point, or at least I assume that they'll realize that, oh, they've been possessed. No, wait, hold on. They probably do realize they're being possessed. So, but yeah, being told that they've gone completely mad at this point. And also informing them that a group has gone after them, which we learn that it's like Ripley and let's see, Omi. So I do, given the fact that we know that Omi has a grandson amongst like the hostages, it makes sense that he would go there. So I do like that bit. So yeah. I do like how Kashi says that since we got no word, they don't know if it's too late, but of course we know it's not too late because then the story would be over and the bad guy's winning. But it was also interesting to learn that Bojin, the one that didn't care if everyone else was taken hostage but himself at least, sort of like we learned that he is actually Rhodes' brother, and arguably now that you think about it, it sort of makes sense that they're related because they both seem to be sort of cowardly and selfish in some ways. So yeah, you've got that at the very least. But yeah, Bojin has been kidnapped and he's going off to save his brother, which arguably, given the fact that Oda's probably done this to probably make Road have at least a more sympathetic side at the very least, that he does at least care for his brother. Now, I'm pretty certain there'll still be fans that will not forgive Road for his perverted behaviors from before, but nevertheless, that has now been taken care of. So no, but that's been dealt with. But now he's going to have a bit of heroic. But I do like how Gerd and Goldberg offering to come and help him and all that stuff. Well, they said they'll follow him and all that stuff. But I do like how, at the very least, it goes to show that they're willing to help the crew member, the member of the crew they dislike the most, the member of the crew they dislike, at least try and save his brother. Though again, Gerd probably was going to go after save the children anyway, since we see that she frequently cares about their well-being, if you will. So it makes sense that Goldberg will come along since they seem to be a bit of a tag team. So yeah. But anyway, I do like that and Sanji, of course, is realizes that Nami's group is near the library, and there's been pointed to that it's been set on fire and all that stuff, which arguably for many One Piece fans, okay, this is setting up Sanji to go save like the rest of the crew that's been beaten, being captured by the Gods Knights, arguably, and to like save them from, and also save them from like Saint Summers, though granted they're tied with Gunko's owls. But given the fact that Robin has got thorns around, you're probably going to have Sanji trying to rescue Robin, sort of building up a sort of, Summers versus Sanji battle that many fans have been sort of hoping for and expecting at this point, which some drawing parallels to Thriller Bark when Abel's son was kidnapped Nami and Sanji went to go rescue. Sanji went to go sort of like rescue him, and now this time it's Sanji probably going to mostly try and rescue Robin, which arguably sort of parallels with what happened between Enies Lobby and Thriller Bark, where Sanji could not fight this female opponent, so Nami stepped in. Sanji also encountered this other female opponent, and Robin stepped in and Wano. And now Sanji went to go rescue Nami. Granted, he failed because of his own, blind love for, Nami's wedding dress. But weakened Abelbasum enough that Nami was able to knock him out afterwards. And this time, Sanji is about to rescue Robin from Saint Summers, at the very least. Arguably, we're probably going to get some sort of maybe Robin assist at the very least, because I think she also has a bone to pick with Summers for attacking Sol. But I think it will mostly be a Summers and Sanji fight. But yeah, we've got that at the very least. So with maybe Robin assisting. But yeah, so we've got that sort of build up there. And also, we got like Zoro asking about Dory and Broggy going mad, and arguably not really explaining the whole Nami reverse thing, but yeah. And we've got like another One Piece map, which I have seen some fans complain about the map thing because usually Oda does the map thing quite frequent, an update, which arguably is a probably good thing to let you know what is going on. But let's see, there are concerns that he might do this too much, but nevertheless, I think at the moment it's fine giving an update where everyone is. We see the school library burning, and let's see the teachers there with the kids. Let's see where the Straw Hats are, let's see, near the library. And Jinbei is giving us a bit of information. It's not only talking about how Chopper's not back yet, but we know where Chopper is. But apparently Brook has run off to go and, let's see, do his own idea, which, let's see, which seems a bit, let's see, when this chapter came out, everyone wanted Brook set himself free. But I'm not going to go into details on that. But likely, Brook is trying to go, as we know, Brook seems to have some connection with Gunko, so he's probably likely trying to pursue her. So it seems like Brook might have a bit of a match against the Emu-possessed Gunko just before Luffy and Loki arrive to take down that antagonist. So, but at the moment, let's see, the other Straw Hats are still tied up. Let's see, with Nami concerned for the children and wanting these owls off her. With Usopp being a bit sad that Dory and Broggy in a state he never wants to see them in. Which, of course, we get an update where they are. Just Fritzy and all that stuff. Like I said, Ripley and Omi's group of rescuing. A little funny moment with Colin trying to tell the kids to man up, the warriors of Elbaf, but of course they point out they're not warriors, but who knows? They might change their minds after this arc, though granted, I don't think they'll be like the warriors of old of Elbaf that would cause havoc around the world, but never mind. But also the most surprising thing that, let's see, you got citizens of Elbaf trying to get Zhao to flee, but he decides that no, he's going to stay and fight, and he's got something to say, and of course, he's confessing the truth, which it seems that now this is crystal clear. If it wasn't before last chapter, it seems Jarl was lying about, let's see, his memory being fuzzy. He just used the wound on his sword, wound on his head with the sword impaled in as an excuse to sort of like say he forgot the details, but no, he actually remembers, is now telling everyone the truth about what Hal tried to do. Let's see, about bringing peace to Elbaf during the world government, but was betrayed. But it is a little interesting, which I will admit. Instead of going on the full truth, he decides to, let's see, twist it a little bit by saying that Howard was killed by demons, not Loki, and says that Loki was innocent and didn't kill him, which, as we expect, the giant citizens are like shocked that, wait, Loki didn't kill him and all that stuff. With still talking about he's stretching the truth, but nevertheless, he is summing up sort of how it goes, if you will. And but it's a nice turn of phrase at the very least, because arguably, let's see, if I had to guess, Giles trying to at least try and get people to try and trust Loki again, because it's like okay, it's like he did see, even though Loki did end up killing Hal in the end, he had no choice to, and no matter as Hal told him to do so in order to stop him from being controlled. But technically, in a sense, it is the sort of like the demons, the noble world government's fault that Loki had to kill him in the first place. Now, granted, I am very curious to see if when Loki arrives and people are like tried to apologize to Loki that they were sorry that they thought you killed his father. I am curious to see if Loki will say that no, he did kill his father, but let's see, his father told him to, and he was already being under their possession and control and all that stuff. So I'm wondering if Loki will end up telling the full details to like what Zhao sort of stretched and like no, he did actually kill him, but it was not by choice. It was like he was told to do so, and it was the only way to stop the monster that Harold had become, if you will. It'll be kind of interesting to see if that plays out, but it might be possible that Loki just accepts what Zhao has done and just goes along with it. But who knows? I could really see Loki sort of saying that. But I could see Loki's characters confessing that no, he did do it, but then going truthful like why he did it and why he never told anyone, and why he never tried to become king afterwards. But like he did to like Hadrudan, which arguably which shocked Hadrudan at the time, but he understood what Loki was doing. No, I do. No, I have to admit, it is interesting that Hadrudan is thinking like this is nicer than what Loki deserves, with like being called innocent and all that stuff, and saying, "Oh, he didn't really kill the king" and all that stuff. Now, arguably, Hadrudan's probably not going to tell the direct truth, but nevertheless, let's see. It's probably going to respect Chief Jowl's turn of events, but granted, Chief Jowl's turn of events, but though granted, it could be like I said, Loki does tell the truth, so we have that little bit there. I do like the sort of double page spread of the God's Knights, each with the reflecting of like what's going on. Killing him seemingly eager to charge into battle with his demon monsters. Let's see, Emu just looking on. He's a bit silent, unlike a whole Jowl telling the truth thing. You'd think he might want to try and silence him a little bit, but nope. But then again, I guess he probably realizes that there's no stopping this, and Jowl doesn't know the full details that it was him that controlled, at the very least. I do like how Sama seems to be the most relaxed and like, oh, I'm going to take a nap, which arguably that relaxation is going to cost him some problems if down the line, especially when Sanji shows up. But yeah, because he's like that confident that the mission is going to be completed. So even if he just took a nap, so there's that. I will admit, I do like Hadrudan's speech about how these demons who killed Harold went away for a bit, and it seems like that was the end of the matter. I didn't tell anyone to not reignite vengeance and war, and Loki just took up that burden instead, as well as being accused of murdering the king. But now those demons are back, and they've sent free this time to like force us to be subjugated, and saying to the sort of like God's Knights, you can make us you can make us destroy our culture and our history, if you will, but do not think you can break us and all that stuff, and that we will not become your slaves. Even I do like how he does the quick comment about apologize children, who doesn't want the children to become bloodthirsty warriors and all that stuff. Tells them to cover their sort of ears at the very least, because it seems they have no choice but to go back into the fight. And as he's like saying, given what the Harley prophecy suggests, if the world's going to be split in two, Elbaf is going to declare war on the world government. But I'm going to get back to that in a bit, because I do like how you've got like the children listening in, some of the wounded giant pirates. And also, apparently, you've got Sol's assistant, Angie, listening in there, which I have seen some people commenting, okay, why is Angie getting some sort of attention? Which there's still some theories that Angie is a traitor. Now, whether or not that's the case, Oda's clearly got something planned with this giant, but we'll have to wait and see. But yeah. But we do have like Usopp getting excited about, that the Albarthine, getting excited for Zhao, as like he's sort of speaking like the way he expects Elbaf to be. The Albarthine would not submit. And of course, he declares that Elbaf shall be the enemy of the world government, officially making Elbaf the first nation to declare war against the world government, which arguably we're going to probably get a bunch of more nations declaring war against the Celestial Dragons down the line. Alabasta, obviously, especially when they learn that it was Emu who killed Cobra. Let's see. The fishermen are likely to do so, especially if Emu's going to threaten Shirahoshi's life. And depending on what else that the world novels tend to do with the fisherman race. Wano and Zoe will probably do so as well, because, let's see, they're allied with the Straw Hats, and arguably, of course, let's see, Dressrosa, because they also like the Straw Hats. They probably don't want to see, and given how they were misled and let's see by one Celestial Dragon, they're not going to like it for the rest. And also, I can see maybe doing it for the sake of Alabasta as well, especially if Rebecca wants to help Vivi. So I can see that. But Elbaf is the first nation, arguably the one nation that the world government could never get them to submit. And when they tried to join willingly, they tricked and forced Howl to do things he didn't want to do, resulting in Loki killed him. But now, let's see, they're not going to have the Giles declaring they're not going to have the same patience. Nope, they're going to fight the world government. They're going to fight the Celestial Dragons. And it's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out afterwards, because once the hostages have been saved, possibly the Giants will have motivation to directly attack the world government afterwards, which arguably probably might start seeing Giants across Elbaf starting to pick fights with maybe the Navy bases, world government bases, all that stuff. And maybe also have World Economic Journal react, because it's like, if Elbaf is declaring war on the world government, this is definitely going to make some people panic a bit at first, because it's like, oh crud, the Giants, a nation of giants is about to declare war on the world government, which everyone thinks that most of the world thinks are the good guys, but no. Arguably, if the Giants are probably declaring war sooner than the truth of the Celestial Dragons comes soon, it's basically people are going to be like, oh no, Giants are going to cause terror across the world. But arguably, once they're on the truth, they'll realize that Elbaf is doing it's a rallying cry to stand up to the Celestial Dragons. Granted, I am curious to see maybe the warriors of Elbaf will team up with the Revolutionary Army, because, well, that is the one group that's directly picking a fight with the world government. Perhaps the Giants realize, if they could work with these revolutionaries, perhaps, it shows that they're not trying to subjugate the human race, but fight alongside them to rid these, evil despots that is the world nobles. So, at least I assume that could be a way of doing it, but who knows? Likely, they're more likely to team up with the Straw Hats and the Redhead Pirates, but we'll have to wait and see how that plays along. And what Loki will do, but yeah. So, I do like how Giles sort of talks about how, do you think these fawns reverse illusion, reverse the possessions and illusions can intimidate us and submit to you? And I do like how Zorro seems to actually sort of admire the old man with her children, revealing that, well, 3 centuries ago, he was the strongest person on the seas. So that's a bit of Elbaf lore to say that Jarl and arguably his partner at the time, I've forgotten his name, but when they were the captains of the new giant warrior pirates, they were the strongest out there, further hinting at after the 4th century in Joy Boy, the giants were basically the dominant pirates across the world when they did that sort of thing. And they were the ones a few centuries ago. Then it was Harold and Dorian Bruggy. And who knows who other giants there are, but you get more of the idea. Jarl, and this might imply that Jarl's a lot stronger than perhaps maybe we might have assumed back when he was a captain of the New Giant Warrior Pirates, but it's very likely, at the very least, probably during his prime, he was probably at the very least Yonko commander to maybe something Admiral strength level, or maybe even Yonko, I'm not sure. Granted, we haven't seen him use Conqueror's Haki, so it's hard to tell, but nevertheless, he was regarded as one of the strongest men in the sea at the time, so I do like that little bit of lore there. I do like Zorro's respect for his resolve, which, of course, I do like how it sort of rallies the giants to prepare to fight back. And Usopp is basically fanboying. It's this is the Elbaf that he loves is back. But I do like how Nami is basically annoying and saying, just undo these arrows, which I will admit, I'm starting to see a bunch of people in these last few chapters being disappointed. Usopp, why aren't you doing something? Which I do believe he will do something. I mean, let's see. Oda has made Elbaf a very significant point of Elbaf being Elbaf being significant for Usopp. Granted, he's probably not done as much as people would expect, and surprisingly, Brock seems to be having a bit more of a storyline than Usopp. But I do think Oda will do something for Usopp in Elbaf. It might not be in the big journey we expected, but nevertheless, I do believe Usopp will have his moment to shine in this arc. Might not be the main MVP, but I do think we'll get a very significant moment with this character. I do like how Joe is leading a bunch of giants after that motivating speech. I think maybe the same ones that were just cheering before, but nevertheless, they're ready to charge and face Dory and Broggy. But I do like how Joe ends the speech of saying, protect the peace that Howard envisioned. So even though the Wetzi giants are sort of going back to their warriors' ways in order to face the world government, they are doing so to preserve the peace that Wetzi Howard wished to enact. So it's not, and you've probably seen a lot of people go, make Elbaf great again and all that stuff. But, well, on one hand, they're getting sort of their wish but of like becoming warriors, but Elbaf becoming warriors again, but they're not doing it to cause and ravage and conquer other nations, but rather to defend their people and their culture and way of life. Basically, perhaps becoming warriors again for the right reasons, if you will, rather than just causing chaos to the rest of the world, which no doubt the rest of the world will probably see it that way at first, but I assume that they will get things cleared up. But yeah, and then like how Juden and his giant buddy, I think, was it Strusen? Yeah, let me just double check actually. Let's see. Oh yeah, Stenson. So yeah, he and Hadrunan are like there and all that stuff, ready to try and fight the two giants. But Zoro along with Zoro, who tells them that he has a plan as he's drawing his sword, which I will admit, when many people heard that, it's like, oh, Zoro's going to do something stupid or reckless, which arguably you could possibly see it, but arguably I think Zoro's probably going to have a plan that will rely heavily on luck. At least that's when I read this chapter. I'm not going to say what happens in the next chapter, but nevertheless, Zoro's about to take on the Domi Reverse Dory and Broggy, which, let's see, I will admit when I thought like Elbaf, how before the flashback began and when we saw Killingham's like centaur form, all that stuff, I thought that was a sort of like warm-up fight for Zoro. That was going to be Zoro's opponent, since that would be like a prototype Nurse Juro, let's see, fight for Zoro, because I think he's going to fight that member of the Elder Knights. But no, it looks like Zoro's main opponents are going to be Dory and Broggy, which two Yonko commanders, or at least two pirates on Yonko commander level, or at least above that, whose combined bounty is, I believe, higher than even Mihawk's, or let's see, and definitely at least higher than Admiral's. So, and not to mention the fact that they've been buffed by this Domi Reverse thing makes them much more stronger. And whether or not you think that Zoro is stronger than one individually, these two together are a dangerous combination, that they're even able to fight the five elders for a bit, who are a bit together, like sort of like either Yonko or Admiral level minimum at the very least. So yeah, Zoro's going to fight two opponents that can like arguably have the strength of like maybe an Admiral or something. So yeah. So, and not to mention their legendary figures. So that's going to be like a very good build up for Zoro to have just before he probably has his match against Hawkeye. And who knows, maybe after this battle, this might persuade, if Hawkeye finds out that Zoro has taken out these two legendary giants, he might finally decide that Zoro's finally worthy enough to him to fight. We'll have to wait and see. But nevertheless, we've got our fight. As for who Killingham's going to fight, I do like how Mr. Morge in his like one of his videos lately, he predicts that Usopp's moment, time to shine, which many people are a bit disappointed that Usopp might be the one to fight Killingham, because he does have archery and Usopp's a sniper, so better of long-range fighters, I guess. Granted, of course, since God's Knights can only be damaged by Conqueror's Haki, this leads to that Usopp might either is going to get Conqueror's Haki himself, or going to be assisted with someone that has Conqueror's Haki, and probably a few of the other Straw Hats, so they at least have something to do. Since Usopp probably shouldn't be able to take on a God's Knight by himself, so he could probably get assisted by Straw Hats. Now, arguably the most obvious one is Scopper Gaban, because he has Conqueror's Haki. It could probably it's the God's Knights, but let's see, who knows? It could be possible that when Usopp has finally done enough damage to killing him, Loki and Luffy arrive, and maybe Loki with his Conqueror's Haki steps in and takes out the Wetzy wounded, killing him, possibly maybe permanently taking him out. It depends if Oda wants to keep him around in his giant monster army abilities, but who knows? Oda might determine that might be too much for like future arcs at the very least. So there is that possibility, but another is maybe Kid Ritzy shows up because he Ritzy and turns out to be alive in the end, and who knows? One form or another has been trained with Conqueror's Haki now, and is Ritzy willing to fight back and maybe use it? Well, granted, it does seem like we're getting to the point where Kid. It might be a bit too late to Kid to come in this arc, and it could be that Oda is perhaps bringing him back for a different arc rather than Elbaf, since it doesn't look like Shanks is going to be here anytime soon, so who knows? But yeah. Overall, I'll give this chapter a 9 out of 10. It may have been a bit slow at first with like the recap, but it was a necessary sort of recap of Gaban explaining what the God's Knights are, who are these God's Knights that they're dealing with to like the new giant pirates and Let's Saw and Sanji, because they're all going to end up fighting. But it does get on with like Ritzy learning, and maybe a bit slow again with the whole map of where everyone is. But you get an update. Brook is about to go and try and confront Gunko. Ritzy, Omi and Ripley are trying to save the children. Kashi was not Udami reversed, and we learned that Roda has a brother amongst the hostages. So him and Gerd and Goldberg are going to go help the hostage situation. Sanji is preparing to go rescue Nami, which probably laid him to contact with Summers. And so Hajuden and Stenson are going to try and stop Ritzy Dorian Broggy from Ritzy killing Chief Jowl. And Chief Jowl, Ritzy finally revealing the truth to the citizens of Elbaf, stretching it a little bit, and then declaring war on the world government, hyping up that Elbaf has returned to a nation. We only, I guess, downside is some people thinking that Usopp's still tied up, but I think once he's free, he's going to do something and likely take on killing him. But yeah, as I think Mr. Morge is probably quite accurate on that, since he's noticed that there's quite a strong parallels of like Elbaf to Thriller Bark, which arguably sort of like swapped around from like as Egghead was sort of paralleling Shabodi a bit, but Ritzy Thriller Bark became before that. But no, it seems like the Thriller Bark arc of the New World is after for once, but nevertheless, it seems like a necessary thing to do. But yeah, the new giants are about Ritzy, so yeah. You've got all the Anjal declaring war on the world government, the first nation to do so. All the pieces in place, and also Zoro about to fight, the dummy reverse giant. So yeah, everything's in place. I enjoyed this chapter. So yeah, I give it like a 9 out of 10. And for those who end up listening to this review, I hope you enjoyed what I had to say about the chapter. And I will see you all next time when I review the next chapter, which I might try and do tomorrow, or at least either on Monday and Tuesday when it's out. So yeah, but for now, I am Blue Star Saber, signing off. Thank you, everyone, and goodbye.